Well, howdy, and welcome to a very spooky version of the RedAss podcast here on October 30th, one day before Halloween. We're very excited to be here. I'm Rob White, class of 14.
That was awful. That was awful. Hey, it's Roy May fighting Texas Aggie class of 15. Happy Eve of All Hallows Eve, something like that.
All Hallows Eve, yes.
Yeah.
Or All
And if
Hallows
you
Eve.
guys are watching on YouTube, the greatest probably video ever. There's a documentary coming out about Thriller on December 2nd that I cannot wait to watch. I think it's on Paramount. So if you haven't seen ads for it, I would highly recommend finding it and adding it to your queue to at least record. It kind of talks about the entire institution that was Thriller, and I thought the most interesting part, and it's in the trailer, so there's no spoiler alert. I haven't seen it either. But he talked about how Michael really wanted to go out and tour Thriller, and somebody was like, "Hey, I've got a better idea," and pretty much thus the video was made.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that's and we're gonna do a little top 5 horror movie rankings. We're gonna debate a ranking. How about that?
Yeah, we're debating a ranking.
And before we get into that, though, let's get into the scariness that is our football team.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't get a chance much to watch. As we talked about last week, it was kind of a tumultuous week in the White family, and it honestly continued even after the funeral. Mom ended up having to go into the hospital for a surgery. Like literally amongst all of this crap. So, needless to say, it's been a week. So I did.
Pours.
When it rains, it pours. Old classic. But I didn't get a chance to watch much. Obviously, so I apologize if my analysis this week is pretty trash. But I
got your back on that, homie.
Well, I appreciate that because from what I could catch, I saw we were leading at the half, 21-7. I saw we were down and had given up like 3 or 4 sacks at that point in the game. I'm like, oh my Lord, what is going on? It was, we had talked about last week the idea of, is Jimbo Fisher out the door at the end of the season if he lost out? And then the question started creeping into my head, like, if he loses this game the way he is losing it, the fan base is currently losing their minds. And I was wondering if they were going to be going for his head pretty darn quickly. But
well, and you're not the only one, and you didn't watch it, so I was watching it real time, and that thought entered my head was, man, if we drop this game, I wonder, like, first of all, obviously the TexAg servers are going to melt down. Like, literally, TexAgs is going to have to go offline for about an hour while they fix their servers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's we've gotten used to a little bit of a faster start this year, which has been nice to see. But all of a sudden you're down 7-0 to South Carolina, and this was you win this one, or it's like you don't even worry about Ole Miss or LSU, because if you can't beat South Carolina at home, coming off a bye, I might add. Not that Jimbo has a great record coming off the bye week, and we don't necessarily see a whole lot of new wrinkles, if any, coming off bye weeks. But but yeah, that thought creeps in. In the first quarter, you're like, first quarter's over, and you're losing to South Carolina at home.
Yeah.
Obviously, they rattle off a massive second quarter, dropping 3 touchdowns, going to halftime with a 2-touchdown lead. And so all of a sudden, the ship has been righted, even though there's been some garbage here and there. The score is all that matters in the end of it. So you're feeling okay about it. And then we come out the second half and we do exactly what we do every second half. We refuse to score a touchdown. Took us 2 more quarters to not score a touchdown. And I saw somewhere where it's now been a month since we scored a touchdown in the second half.
Auburn. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Auburn was the last time we did that. That's insane.
How's that even acceptable? And I get that, there's going to be some goaltenders and there's going to be some people defending some stuff. And don't get me wrong, Max Wright caught that. That was a touchdown.
Oh, no question.
Yeah, it's not. That was just an awful call. But
the fact that was the only chance for one.
Well, but look, the reality is it wasn't called a touchdown, so it doesn't count. So woulda, shoulda, coulda never ever shows up in the box score. You know why? Because it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's like if you drop a pick, like you almost had a pick, that means you didn't have a pick, kind of thing.
Just a really good looking incomplete pass.
Yeah, it's a pass breakup, right? But the stats. Yeah, if you just kind of look at the box score stats, I mean, you like the discrepancy in between our total yardage and theirs. You know, I'm trying to. It's not lipstick on a pig because it's still a good win. But 3 field goals in the second half just isn't going to cut it, because if that's how you're going to operate for the rest of the season, which clearly it's been how we've been operating for a while, you better start putting up 35 in the first half. And then just holding on for dear life, like that 7-year-old riding his first roller coaster ever. Like the old Texas Cyclone getting in the back car. It used to come off the tracks a little bit, at Astro World. I just dropped an Astro World reference. Let's go.
R.I.P.
But you won, right? So it can't all be gloom and doom. You won 30-17, and it's not all gloom and doom. We showed that we were capable of picking up short yardage fourth downs. We went 4 for 4 on fourth downs.
Positives.
That's a massive positive. It just shows that we'll just stop being stupid and just line up and go.
Yeah.
Another negative that we don't really talk about a ton, but has been there as of late, and it's kind of it's confusing to me to an extent, is the punting.
Yeah, that is certainly not something that we are used to as A&M fans, having poor punting.
Poor kicking in general.
Yeah, poor kicking in general. I mean, even field goals. We did pretty well this past week, but even so, you look at our stats from the kicking, it's like the foot part of football has not really been there for us lately, and it's definitely an odd situation.
Well, and Randy Bond, don't get me wrong, like he's a serviceable kicker, but like the percentage that he's kicking at isn't great.
Yeah.
He went 3 for 4, had a 52-yarder. I mean, that was nice. I mean, I don't think his leg's ever been in question, but the punter is, I'm just like, you're not even averaging 34 yards a punt. And the entire concept behind the punting game is if you have to punt, switch the field, right? And I know that sometimes if you just look in a box score, if a guy was only, he's got averaging 34 yards a punt, but if he's pinning you deep, that's way different, right?
Right.
It's short field, but we decide not to go for it, so we punt. But if he pins you, inside the 10, or he's knocking inside the 5, stuff like that, that's one thing. But that's not the case here. It's just they're poorly hit punts, and again, it's not a leg issue. It feels like I mean. Punters, look, I get it. Kickers are people too, right? Yeah,
they are. We love them.
But punters don't generally punt as well when every time they go to punt, they have 3 dudes barreling down on them. And this is all going to circle back to something that has just been a sticking point for every critic out there. And it doesn't matter. You can be on the sunshine pumping side of A&M football, which generally is where I find myself on the spectrum. I probably dialed it down a little bit, but I'm still a bit of a sunshine pumper. But not having a special teams coach, I mean, so much of it, I don't understand that concept, because once you start having issues in the special teams, well, who's addressing it?
Right.
Like, who's covering down and saying, okay, we've got to fix this coverage? Because when you have a guy that's dedicated to only doing that, things tend to be better, unless he's just god awful at his job. But think about all the special teams coordinators across the land. We don't have one at all.
Yeah, that truly is it blows my mind.
It's baffling.
It's baffling, especially with our program and knowing our long history when it comes to kickers. I mean, we have been known. I mean, we use it as a joke, but it's not inaccurate. Punter, A&M has funneled out some of the best punters in the game. We've had some very good field goal kickers over the years.
It's been a long time in the league.
Yeah. I mean, you can go down the list of guys right now who are in the league still kicking, doing their thing, and guys who over the last 5-10 years have made a consistent play in the league. It drives me nuts that we can't provide for our team, especially for our defense in those situations, some extra alleviation by being able to put the ball further down in the field. Now, I don't know if it's a case where it's just the style of the kick. Obviously, doing the Aussie style versus traditional is an argument that goes back and forth all the way. But, for me, it's just get the ball down the field. Clearly, we know these guys can kick. Where's the disconnection?
You see him in warm-ups. I mean, the guy can absolutely destroy the football. I don't really care about styles of kicking. But, the concept of punting is the same. Hang time, let your coverage get down there. The whole, don't outkick your coverage kind of thing.
Right.
And so we know the talent again sounds like other parts of the team that we're talking about. We know the
Right.
talent's there, right?
Oh yeah.
So and I know it's small, but special teams are the kind of thing that can win and lose you games.
Yeah.
And you've got two teams left on your schedule that if you give them short fields, I mean, I know our defense is good, but you can't continuously put your defense in a poor situation because
No.
even with the numbers that they're putting up, just basic math tells you that they're going to give up some points. And what if, it's in a critical situation or it's at a critical time in the game where the score is really tight and all of a sudden you give an Ole Miss the ball at midfield? Like that seems incredibly bad.
Yeah, it's not a situation that we want to find ourselves in, but distinct possibility that we may see that situation as we're getting into that game next week.
Yeah. Obviously going into Ole Miss, and this is one of those, if you're going to have a season where people put the pitchforks and the torches away, you better win on the road at either Ole Miss or LSU. And if you don't win at Ole Miss, the likelihood of you winning in Baton Rouge becomes infinitesimal.
Yeah.
If you can't win in Oxford against a team that they're not as good as LSU.
No, but currently ranked 11th. And with the one loss on their schedule at this point, going to their house, I will say we're playing this game at 11.
Yeah, the 11 o'clock kickoff is about the best news we could have regarding this game.
Yeah.
Honestly. When we play Ole Miss in Oxford at night, weird things happen. And sometimes that weird things are good for us, but it's just a weird game. And so, you look forward to this, or as we look forward to this. I don't know if anyone's looking forward to this, but as we look forward to this game, you start to, and I think because of where the season is, people are approaching it from a gloom and doom perspective as opposed to just a little bit more of a straightforward analysis. But
sure.
Every time you look at a game, what are you going to look at? Strengths versus weaknesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Ole Miss defense is not good.
Pretty dog from what I can tell here.
Yeah, Jackson Dart in that offense is what's winning them those games. And that's fine because that's kind of the Kiffin model. Like, I'll just outscore you. As long as I can hold you to like 40 or less, I feel pretty good about my chances. That's the Ole Miss,
Well, and if you look at their last few games, not including Vanderbilt, because, let's face it, it's Vanderbilt. But if you're looking at Auburn and Arkansas, two common opponents, those are two games that they played that were rather tight, both at home and on the road against those guys. So it's been shown that, while they do have a good offensive pull, if they're running into any kind of issue on defense, that game gets very tight. And now you're going to have to ask our offense to do something that they have not done lately, which is stay up in a game, especially late. But the opportunities are there. We just have to take advantage of them.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. We've got a buzzsaw of a defense. Ole Miss is going to be run into it, but where our weaknesses are in defense is obviously where Ole Miss strengths are.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting balance to see how Durkin sets up for this. Because I think we've shown in enough games that giving the quarterback all day to throw is not a recipe for success, and it doesn't matter the talent under center. And Jackson Dart's a good quarterback.
Sure.
Ole Miss has never had a problem having good quarterbacks out there.
No.
Ole Miss's biggest issues that I can remember since we've been in the league, outside of like that one season when they call themselves the Land Sharks, has always been on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
And when they don't have a Jeremy Tunsil, they might have a really good quarterback that's running for his life.
Mm-hmm.
They got a good running back, but again, I'm going to be interested to see how he sets up for this game because we've got to put enough pressure, and really what we've got to do is keep him in between the tackles. We've got to put enough pressure on him to where, there's three. We can't let the wide receivers have 6 seconds to run around.
Yeah,
because again, we've said it a million times, and no matter how many times I say it, it will continue to be true. Once you start giving quarterbacks 5 and 6 and even 7 seconds, there's no defensive backfield collectively that's going to be able to cover them all and hold them down.
No.
So I think really, truly key to this game for me is our linebacker play, which that statement in and of itself should make you feel pretty good if you're an Aggie, right?
Right. You consider our front seven, and we do have a lot of talent there, and they've looked very good. Even in losing efforts, we've been solid on that sect of the game. And I've been very impressed with that. And, we've already talked about it before. We've talked about it again, I'm sure. I'll give DJ Durkin and, the guys a lot of credit there for making adjustments, especially after that struggle against Miami early, and they've looked a lot better. But of course, you're going into a game where this is really kind of a very good test for all those guys,
Yeah, I mean,
especially in the secondary.
yeah, between Ole Miss and LSU, and not to skip over Mississippi State and Abilene Christian, but our 2 road games left, right? And
Mm-hmm.
2 opportunities, road games that'll be ranked. You're talking about some of the best scoring offenses in the nation.
Yep.
Now, and and you can sit there and say that, and then you can also go, yeah, but they haven't played a defense like ours. Well, and that's where this is where it's going to come down to,
Right.
because unfortunately, it really does all fall on the defense, because the defense can't allow too many points, knowing that the offense can't get in a track race with anybody, which
Mm-hmm.
is weird, because if we put our offensive stars on an actual track, we would beat most teams.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like the speed, like the dynamicism, the dynamics players that we have. It's I don't think dynamicism is a word. We're gonna go with it though.
Hey, it works for the podcast. It's
Dynamical.
fun.
But you just have to know. There's so much added pressure on them, on top of the pressure that they're already going to face, knowing the offense that they're going against, right?
Mm-hmm.
These defensive players are going to watch tape. They understand how good this offense is. They understand how the challenge that this is going to present them. And then on top of that, they're like, yeah, but we probably need to be better than we're thinking, because, I don't know that we're going to score north of 30.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's a crazy thought to think. Like, if we can hold Ole Miss, like in my brain, if we can keep them within the 20s range, you would think that we have a really good shot at winning this football game. If we can keep them within like 21, 24 points offensively, I would feel good about that. But on almost any other year, but for whatever reason, offensively, it's just weird for us.
It's just a big, huge struggle bus every week on the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you can hold Ole Miss to 20, 21 points, I mean, that's a pretty damn good day at the office.
I would say so.
And I'm not putting it past our defense to hold them under 20.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would be incredible.
Likely? No. Possible? I mean, have you seen our defense play? Edge Cooper's playing at an All-American level. Jordan York's not far behind. We know all the talent, the rotation, and depth we have on the line.
Yeah.
So how do you use that to your best advantage while having to mask what is now kind of a banged up secondary?
Yeah.
Bryce Anderson, I thought, had a great game against South Carolina. We know Bryce's talents. We know DeBerry is talented, but I think he's more talented at nickel than he's in the corner slot. But it looks like we're going to have to slot him into the corner because of, and granted, I don't know the extent of these injuries, and we haven't had the Monday morning press conference, so these haven't even been addressed really, because post-game press conferences, nobody gets diagnosed that quick unless it's like a season-ending injury, and know. So, and even then, sometimes they don't know, Connor. But yeah, from week to week to out till next year, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, woof. But so you're hoping that your corners need to have the game of their lives, straight up, because they haven't shown that they can be consistently good. What's the old saying? You need to have at least one lockdown corner.
Yep.
And we just kind of don't have one yet. And I know that they've been plagued with injuries since camp. So getting further dinged up, in a South Carolina game before you go on the road to Oxford is not what I would call an ideal situation.
Now, I'm not sure if you've seen this. Have you been keeping up with what Jim Turner has been up to?
No, I do not have Jim Turner notifications on my phone.
Fair enough. So Jim Turner, former O-line coach, as well as just he's been around the block, living in College Station. He's doing these breakdowns of the offensive line from game to game, and he's doing not just A&M ones, but he's breaking down other SEC teams, and it's becoming very fascinating because a lot of people are watching those and starting to ask the question like, why is a Dario on staff when this guy is clearly far more in tune with what's going on in the game, at least in their head? I don't know that all for sure, of course.
Adazio. Yeah, well, what's the most dangerous thing you can do? And it's give someone who wants to argue a little bit of information. So they feel educated even though they're not. But again, on the flip side of that, knowledge is power, right?
Knowledge is power.
And I think there are very few football fans, kind of in general, I would say the overwhelming majority don't truly understand the scheming and technique required to field an effective offensive line. So when
Certainly
dudes
not.
like Jim Turner, can sit back and analyze this stuff, it's like when Cole Kubelik does his stuff too. And,
Yeah.
these are voices of experience.
Mhm.
Literally been in the trenches.
Mhm.
And those are great breakdowns, and you can learn a lot by watching them. I'll have to check them out.
Sure.
I,
I'll send one to you.
yeah, I mean that's frustrating because you're like, man, he's right up the road, literally.
And
Like
he's
literally,
literally here.
it's like outside of game day, there's probably like a $6 Uber if he doesn't want to drive. Like,
Right.
yeah, and yeah, you'd love to. You don't. I mean, obviously, you don't want to react to social media. Yeah, when you're a coach,
Mhm.
and the fact that Jimbo doesn't have a Twitter, I think is absolutely nothing wrong with him not having a Twitter.
No, probably smart on his part because at the end of the day, let's face it, having an open forum like that and allowing people to just message you on a whim, that's a dangerous deal, especially in sport.
Yeah, ask how Dan Enos handled that situation.
Mhm.
Yeah, interacting with fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you have a known commodity down the street, I mean, how many analysts can you hire? Like a million of them, right?
Yeah. As many as you really want, honestly.
And if he's already doing it for free, maybe he just come help out for the last couple of weeks. But then the problem is, I get it. You're sending a message to Adazio that you no longer have faith in him. So
Right.
you're.
But do you have faith in him? That's the question.
Yes, you're sending Adazio the truth. I mean, the message that you don't. Yeah.
He's no normal man. He's not an innocent man.
He's not an innocent man.
We're doing it for 3 weeks.
Every week, man.
Every week.
Like, well, and so it's frustrating though, because even if you know very little about offensive line play,
Yeah.
I think generally football fans understand that the offensive line's job is to block.
Right.
So when they're not blocking, chances are they're not doing their job right. Now, there's a
No.
lot of intricacies that go into reading defenses and blitzes and stunts, and I understand that.
Sure.
But the reality is, if you're not picking up any of them, like,
or better yet, triple teaming one guy, which is something that did happen in the South Carolina game. I did see that clip, and I was like,
hey, but that dude didn't get a sack, did he?
no.
Yeah, that's great.
So worked out, but still, it's one of those situations where it's like, man, let's not put ourselves in that position if we can allow it.
That is straight up like 2 or 3 steps shy of when Florida had dudes literally blocking each other. Like, we're not that far away.
Oh, don't even. God, that was incredible. Yes, I remember that. They were playing like Georgia Southern or something too. Like they were playing their gimme game late in the season and proceeded to blow that game in amongst blocking your own guys. God, it was an absolute clown show. That was like peak bad Florida.
It's one of the greatest clips I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's not quite. I mean, I don't know what's more bonehead, that or throwing the shoe.
Well, okay, so yeah, right, but hey, never underestimate Florida, man. Right?
Never ever underestimate Florida man. Do you know who your Florida man is? Have you met him? Like, have you seen that information? Do you know that game? Have you ever done this? Okay.
No.
So what you do,
but I have met some real weirdos from Florida.
All right. So do yourselves a favor. Anybody listening on this podcast, for the love of God, go on to Google, search your birthday. Doesn't matter the actual year, just whatever your date of birth is. Type that in and Florida man. And whatever the top result is, that is your Florida man. For example, mine was running around in the Chick-fil-A parking lot naked chasing patrons. And there's a lot of different variations on that, but there are some very, very good versions of your Florida man. Are you looking yours up?
Yeah, no, I'm looking up something else. Keep talking.
No, come on now.
So what? I just picked the first one on the newsfeed.
Yeah, first one on the newsfeed. And if there's another good one, I'm willing to hear it, though.
That one's actually borderline inappropriate. Well, there's one that steals alligator from a golf course and tried to teach it a lesson. That's a direct quote.
Oh, I'm going to teach that guy a lesson. He's not going to touch my ball ever again.
So here's one. Florida man accused of flooding the emergency room after attacking a nurse and then stripping.
Those are great.
I feel like there's meth involved in that.
I mean, I would be disappointed if it wasn't.
Here was the first one, and obviously, the police called him, so nothing came of it, thankfully.
Sure.
Florida man asks Walmart employee for anything that would kill 200 people.
Ooh. That's a specific number. That's up there.
Oh, a Florida man tried hiding some meth under a deputy patrol vehicle during a traffic stop.
See, there's your meth.
Hey, copper, that's your meth.
That's your meth, not mine.
Oh, here you go. Here's the best one. Then we can get back on track. Florida man arrested trying to cross the Atlantic Ocean in a giant hamster wheel.
Let's go. That was a good one. So yeah, if you haven't played your Florida man game, by all means, go look it up. It's phenomenal. Every day of the year, there is some Florida man doing something stupid. So just go check it out. It's fun. But yeah,
this is amazing. Sorry, I gotta turn that off. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Like, it's one of my favorite games to play with people. But yeah, that's a good one. But hey, it is very much spooky season at this point. We have graduated into the final week of October. Today and tomorrow, we're ready to rock and roll for it. I'm excited. Anybody that's on YouTube here, I don't know where my jersey ran off to. Did I drop it? I dropped it.
Did Bubbles run off with it?
Not quite, but I do have it right here. So fine folks of the YouTube world and everybody else, we've got ourselves a jersey. It's Billy Bob from Varsity Blues. And if you haven't seen Varsity Blues, one, shame on you. It's peak cinema.
Yeah, not the TV show, the movie.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're talking Varsity Blues. Go watch the movie. It's great. I mean, there's so many great quotable things in it. But yeah, I'm going as Billy Bob. And if you know Billy Bob, he has all the great lines, say for maybe Tweeter.
Yes. That was randomly on television the other day, and I found myself just turning it on. I was like, yeah, forever.
Yeah, we watched it on the way up to Colorado a few weeks back, and the boys in the band were all just, some of them knew it and loved it, and a lot of the other ones were like, this is stupid. And we're like, you shut your mouth. You don't know good cinema. Then it just kind of went on from there. But you pulled up a top 5 list of best Halloween
top 5
movies.
Lists, and then I want to run through. So I want to, because it's spooky season, right? And not everybody likes watching horror movies.
Yeah.
So this may not be your favorite.
Sure.
But I'll count these down from 5 to 1, and this is like all timers too. So
sure.
But the list I found was kind of weird, and I won't call out the website or anything. But
sure.
I mean, when you're looking for top whatever lists of all time, there's 8,000 sites devoted to every single one.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was weird because I could have the Alien on there, like original Alien.
Right. And I mean,
that's really not a Halloween movie though.
I wouldn't call it Halloween. It's a great horror suspense thriller.
Yeah, 28 Days Later was on there.
Sure.
The Shining. Obviously, The Shining is a fantastic horror movie. So we're just talking about horror movies.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that The Shining was so low. They had it at 8th.
Yeah. See, I've always loved The Shining. That's
to me, Shining's a top 5 just because it was such a it was it really screwed with your brain a little bit. I mean, you have to always take these movies in context as to when they were released.
Yeah.
Psycho, the original Psycho, is cheesy to watch. But think about when that came out and the people that watch it. My mom said she had nightmares for a month, couldn't sleep.
Well, the idea of someone getting stabbed. I mean, obviously the shower scene, iconic.
Yeah.
In cinema. And yeah, is it overly complicated? No. But did it have a major cultural impact? You bet your ass.
No, nobody had ever put something like that on the screen before.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, that's completely insane.
Yeah.
So some of these movies, I've never seen or never heard of, and that's the problem when you get some of these weird lists.
Right.
I know that, and it's not on this list because I think this is meant to be a little bit scarier than you're saying, but Halloween Town, everybody loves Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
It's glad Tim Burton is fantastic.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the truly scary Halloween movies, Poltergeist has got to be on the list.
Sure.
Because that is an absolute classic. And I get it. It seems kind of lame now. But again, it's an absolute classic. it's the original Poltergeist. This is when you start talking about. But if you start getting into things like Halloween and the Friday the 13th series,
Mhm.
first of all, they're these huge, cinematic series at this point, right?
Right.
Yeah, and Jason as well, right? Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
Halloween, and
Friday 13th.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Those three have 38 episodes apiece. They're 38 movies apiece at this point, is what it feels like.
Mhm.
Um,
Good
and and
slasher
and
flicks.
and they're cheesy slasher flicks. They are.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like the first one in each series, even though obviously cinematically and whatever, I think the first one will always hold water just because we'd never seen Michael Myers, we'd never seen Freddy Krueger, right?
And we never seen Jason Voorhees. We hadn't
Yeah,
seen
never
right.
seen Voorhees. Never. My my wife knows where Crystal Lake is. It's the
Yeah.
vacation spot. And nobody else on the planet knew where Crystal Lake was if you didn't live in Chicago, kind of Illinois, northern Illinois area.
Mhm.
Um, but if you've ever seen the movie, you all know what it is now. Everybody knows Elm Street. Everybody
Yeah.
knows Michael Myers, Friday the 13th. So those are institutions of like the horror genre,
Yeah.
that I think deserve, they deserve some respect, and that's okay. But as long as you understand that they are all also just kind of slasher movies, and
Mhm.
it always felt like from about episode 2 to episode 4, they were really just trying to figure out how to kill people in different ways.
Right.
But they weren't creative enough to figure that out, so they're just kind of the same movie over and over and over again.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
it's like that's same thing with the Saw movies, right?
Oh yeah. And the Saw
That's
movies
the
of
ultimate slasher.
oh yeah.
But it's supposed to be a little of a mind game, and the first one was, and the rest of them were just them just literally coming up with different ways to kill each other. It's like the 1,000 ways to die thing.
Right, exactly. How many different creative ways can we kill people? And it's in that same vein I consider, and maybe a slight off topic here, but look at, like, for example, video game franchise. I'm going to pull out Mortal Kombat, right? Mortal Kombat, when it first comes out, yeah, it gets rated as, whatever, the mature rated video game, of course. But the level of the way it gets in the later games, it's like, how incredibly ridiculous can we get with the deaths of these characters for a fatality?
Yeah,
Now,
it feeds into the need for blood and gore over plot.
right. And it just becomes like that is the staple of the franchise. It's no longer the story that you're trying to tell. It's how creative can we get to killing people? And you
So
just,
weird.
well, and like for me, especially like when it came to horror movies, I have a hard time watching modern horror films because I get to a point where it's like, okay, like what connection do I have with this person? He's just, there's just body parts everywhere. And
You
it's,
need plot.
yeah, I like a good plot in a story, and I maybe got an old school for saying that, but it's just, I like a good plot in my movie.
You get off my lawn with your no
Yeah.
plot movies.
Yeah. Speaking of get off my lawn, God bless Clint Eastwood, man. What a great actor.
um,
Oh my God, The Crow.
oh, come off it, man.
Hell yeah. Have you heard of the, okay, speaking of horror movies coming up, have you seen this like Winnie the Pooh one, Blood and Honey? It's
Uh,
it's a Winnie
no.
the Pooh horror movie.
Oh, and that Five Nights at Freddy's, which basically looks like
Yes.
every person that's ever been scared of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics should
Yeah.
never watch that movie. Like, it's literally their nightmare put into film.
So it's based on a video game. And it's a very popular video game, especially amongst
Five Nights at Freddy's?
yes, yeah, it's a video game. That's where the concept came from. Yeah, it's a big deal for a lot of like the internet community. They love that video game, and they loved going into the lore and all like the backstories, because there's a lot of really deep lore there that you go in through. Like, there's like 2 or 3 of these games, or maybe even more now. But there's a lot of story there, which I appreciate about that particular franchise, because it looks like they're going to approach it from a lot more of the actual storytelling side, leaning into the PG-13 aspect versus full on R, let's go bloody, gory, and act crazy.
Yeah, there's got to be a point where literally, like, and I get it, man. And like that was the whole thing about the slasher kind of,
Mhm.
you know, scene, or they were just people that just absolutely loved it. I got my hand up, accidentally raised my hand there. Whoops. You can lower my hand. But the ones that I always thought, and I can deal with a little bit of the slasher and the blood and gore as long as like I'm engaged mentally, you know. And
Right.
that's where I think the initial Saw was unique in
Sure.
the sense that it was meant to be so much of a kind of a mind game. I think probably my favorite slasher from growing up though, because again it's another, you know, it's an institution at this point, is Scream, right?
Oh yeah. Well, Scream's a classic. Wow.
It's
Yeah.
it's a classic. That would be a scary movie. But like it's a classic slasher though. So Scream and all of them kind of are in their own genre because they're slasher. But I like movies because they're also still engaging.
Yeah.
And so the ones that really screw with me, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I've become increasingly claustrophobic as I get older. I don't know why.
Sure.
But anything that deals with like spelunking. So if you're in a cave and there's
Oh
something
yeah.
scary, I'm having a hard time stomaching those movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
What Lies Beneath and Descent.
Yeah.
But I make myself watch those movies because I'm a moron. But another, like another great series obviously is the Conjuring series.
Sure.
Like just absolutely fantastic movies. All of them. The Babadook's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I watch a lot of horror movies. We used to do,
Sure.
yeah, we used to do a scary movie night every week.
Yeah.
But then you have stuff that's more almost psychological stuff, like Get Out. Get Out was amazing,
Oh,
absolutely amazing.
Get Out
Um,
is such a honestly, it's such a great allegory for the world around us in a lot of ways. Without getting political with it, it's definitely a very interesting point of topic.
yeah,
Regarding social kind of cues with people and families and whatnot. That's something I thoroughly enjoyed about Get Out. Is and or
it's so good. It's
yeah,
just so good.
yeah,
Um,
that one's great.
another like, and I like the ones that do make me jump a little bit because
Sure.
like I'm not super callous and I'm not super like flighty. So
Mm.
it takes a little bit to get me to jump. But if you get me to jump, like the tip of the cap to you, the Sinister movies were another one that were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Sinisters were creepy as crap. But I think like we really got to talk about the best like scary movies of all time. And again, I go back to I don't care if it scares you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I care about when it came out, what it did to people's brains. Like
Oh,
it
sure.
was so scary. And so I've got 5, and these are kind of my 5, and I'm not going to order them, but I feel like these are really truly the biggest like really screwed with people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with this one, and I only say it. I'm start with Scream, and I'm only going to say it because then all of a sudden everybody could buy those stupid masks.
Yeah.
And like there was a little uneasy feeling about that, but I think Scream
Mm-hmm.
is kind of interchangeable. I honestly I could you know, another one was my favorite, Quiet
Mm.
Place.
Quiet Place. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll switch out Scream for Conjuring because and I'm going to say the entire Conjuring series just
Sure.
because they are so psychologically like screwing with you.
Mm-hmm.
On top of being, you know, a little bit violent, which is, you know, some people are looking for. So the entire Conjuring series, I'm all in on. The original and the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Texas Chainsaw, you want to talk about a pure slasher. But the problem is it was realistic enough. Like this dude didn't come alive out of a lake. He
No.
didn't only kill you in your dreams. He didn't wear a hockey mask.
Yeah, he's a serial killer.
He's just a serial killer that lives in
Yeah.
Texas and has a chainsaw. And
Yeah.
that in and of itself is frightening.
Oh yeah. Well,
And
especially considering where it's set and located, just down the road in Bastrop, not far
Right.
away.
Well, and it came out in 74. I mean, think
Yeah.
about that movie coming out in 1974, man.
Whew.
Like you want to could be in 1974, we are introducing you to the villain that is Leatherface. Why is he called Leatherface? And then you find out and you're like, come on.
Yeah.
It's Texas Chainsaw's got to be in your top 5.
Oh, sure. It's a great movie.
And I said it earlier. I think Poltergeist is a top 5. Again, the sequels weren't great,
Mhm.
but it was one of the first true like supernatural world, but also met like this new world technology where everybody had a TV in their house, and you know, and it's good old real estate development building over a cemetery. And then The Shining, I think
Yeah,
even though it's not set around Halloween, again, Shining is such a, and maybe my MO is I'm more of a psychological thriller kind of guy. I don't need all the blood and gore. I don't.
me either.
You know, if the little bits in there, that's fine. But The Shining, I thought it was, the movie was so well done based off the book. And I can't in a million years fathom anyone playing other than Jack Nicholson.
Come
All work
play
and no
with
play.
us, Danny.
All work and no play.
All
Yep.
work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yep.
And then
What a great movie.
I think the all-timer, and I'm biased because I've actually run up these stairs before multiple times,
Fair.
is The Exorcist.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll give you that. The Exorcist, is way up there.
The Exorcist will continue to screw with people to this day.
Yeah.
And I think where some of this kind of goes is, you know, you look at these movies and when they came out and really what they spawned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes them great, right?
Yeah.
So The Shining, although maybe not as violent, you start thinking about M. Night Shyamalan making an entire living off of just screwing with your brain.
Yeah.
I mean, his movies are PG-13, man. These aren't slasher movies.
No.
But he tapped into that psychological side of scaring you, you know, as opposed to just like,
Mhm.
boo, you know, like it was creepy the whole movie. And then you find out and you're like, really? But
Yeah.
The Shining was just psychological. It talked about, you know, kind of the sociopathic side, right? I know
Mhm.
I know we're getting like super deep and weird for this. We just
Sure.
talked about football a half hour ago. And The Shining is almost a standalone, but then The Exorcism, right? I mean, you had a couple exorcism movies kick off of it. You had all the Haunting of and The Exorcism of Emily Rose and all these other movies that talked about, you know, how that tied into to making horror movies. And then Chainsaw Massacre just brought out the slasher. So those are probably my five. And I mean, if I had to go in order, I'd probably go Exorcism, Shining, Chainsaw Massacre, Poltergeist, and then the Conjuring series. But it's the whole series because they do really well actually with the timeline of it. So the whole series of it, like the Annabelle stuff.
Well, and I'm a big fan of a lot of the movies that were not atypical, like if you want to call them horror movies, but thrillers, suspense. You know, I've always liked kind of thriller suspense area. In particular, you mentioned it earlier, Alien. Always been a big fan of Alien as a movie, and
on the gory side, but
sure, but Alien and Aliens, plural, the first two, cool, phenomenal movies, and
they should have stopped.
And they should have stopped, or at least if you were going to continue the story, not immediately kill off all the cool people that you introduced in two. Like, come on now. Anyway,
I will say though that they did. They're so influential. They got a little scene in Spaceballs.
Oh, so. Very true. Not again.
Hello, darling.
That's a great scene.
This year we just, man, dude, life happened. I told you earlier, I didn't know when we were going to be able to do this because I've got my counter guys coming. I've got my AC guy coming today. The weather sucks.
Oh yeah.
For all of you guys, all y'all that like the cold, look, I don't fault you. I love the heat. What I cannot deal with is cold and wet, cold, rainy crap, just garbage, blah poo. It's horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day. That's what this weather is. But yeah, so I knew I was going to get this done. So, we're plugging along. I guess I do all the indoor things, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to get done this week. I mean, I've got a handful of things on my plate before we're heading out, but I was just getting some things taken care of for a couple of bands, which has been good. If you're on YouTube, I'm rocking the Shred Dirt beanie, the black beanie. There's a black and a white one. So if you like beanies, this is what they look like. And I think they turned out pretty decent. So we'd love for you to go check those out. I put it on my story today, so be sure to go check it.
Yeah, I feel guilty about my lack of Halloween decorations. Like, I love decorating the house for Halloween and for Christmas, right?
Sure.
But that's not going to change the fact that we'll be passing out candy if you're down the Southwood Valley area. I am a full bar household, so you do full candy bars. It's the only way to do it.
Yep.
But now that this weather's kind of turned like this, if it doesn't dry out, I feel like I'm gonna have a crap ton of candy to eat.
Yeah. Well,
trying to avoid.
It is going to be chillier tomorrow, but at least on the plus side, it's going to be clearer. We shouldn't be dealing with the rain tomorrow, which would be great. I wasn't complaining about getting rain because we definitely needed it.
No, no, I'm not complaining about the rain at all. I just, rain generally drives away trick or treaters.
Right. And well, fortunately for us, we should be clear by tomorrow. But my plan is tap karaoke tonight because they are doing quote unquote scarioke, right? So we're gonna go out there and do the normal shtick.
So,
Just
all right, so real quick, Halloween songs. Thriller's obviously one.
Thriller's number one. Monster Mash,
Monster
way
Mash
up
has got to
there.
be one.
Flying Purple People Eaters, way up there.
You put a spell on me.
Put a spell on me. Oh
Very
yeah.
very Halloween-esque.
Mhm.
We always do I always just do I have like the sound of 175 scary, sound effects. I
Mhm.
normally just play that blasting out of my garage on Halloween night.
Oh yeah.
Put up a couple of tarps and some strobe lights.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
But
I
yeah.
could probably put that together before tonight. That's indoor
Mhm.
decorating. I can do that.
Oh, there you go. Oh, so some people. These are interesting. This is an interesting list for Halloween because they are just going down the list of, I guess, like creepy names for song. But like Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band.
That's the absolute opposite of a Halloween song.
Right. Superstition by Stevie Wonder. That's not what I would qualify as that.
One of my favorite songs of all time.
Sure.
But,
Oh, I mean, okay. Here's one for you. Werewolves of London. In quote. Of course, the Ghostbusters theme, right?
Okay, that's a classic. I can get down with
that's
that.
a classic. I hear the Ghostbusters theme, and my brain immediately goes into Halloween mode. I don't
know.
Yeah.
Oh crap. She-Wolf by Shakira.
Sure. That one's up there.
It gets a vote because it's Shakira.
Yeah. And once again, not a Halloween song, but Zombie by the Cranberries.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? Honorable mention for movies. Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary, yeah.
You notice how Stephen King is now showing up twice on the list.
I mean, and for good reason. I mean, yeah, we can go back and forth on a lot of his stuff, but when it comes to Stephen King, I mean, good Lord, that dude knows how to write.
I feel like they did a really great job, always adapting it. Stephen King isn't the hardest read to begin with, but I thought they did a great job adapting it to really, getting a good feel for what he was trying, the pictures he was trying to paint, and generally speaking, because when you turn a book into a movie, at some point they drop out like what seemed to be a pretty important part of the book when you were reading it.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, well, we could sit here and talk about music all day.
Oh, of course we could, but
who's your scary artist of all time? Was it got to be Alice Cooper, or are we doing something like Megadeth?
My scariest artist of all time? Oh, it's got to be Marilyn Manson. That dude is insane.
Yeah, Marilyn Manson. Yeah, I can't think any others that are even moderately close to that.
He would be number one. And if we're talking bands, Ghost is a solid number two. Which, if you don't know who Ghost is, they're weird.
Well, and I feel like if we went through like the super insane like Nordic heavy metal.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, those guys are pretty much all nuts.
Oh, they're all nuts. But I would say of the artists, I would say, the creepiest one has to be Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, as a person.
But Alice Cooper's great. But at the end of the day, he does have some redeemable qualities. He plays golf. He has fun. He's generally a pretty decent person.
Doesn't seem like Marilyn Manson. I'm not. Well, yeah, no. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I said what I said.
I'd say not Marilyn Manson by any means.
Yeah,
but the beautiful people.
Yeah, that's a great song. Fantastic song when you're deployed. By the way. Honorable mention. There's a rockabilly band. They're called the Necromantics. The upright bass player's bass looks like a coffin.
I love that.
And they're like the lead singer generally, I mean, they've changed band members throughout the years, but the lead singers, he's got like the kind of pomp that just goes straight up like 8 inches.
Oh, I love that.
They're pretty nuts. But their music has like a very Halloween kind of spooky, kind of creepy thing to it.
I appreciate
rockabilly, and you can deal with that name. They're worth it. Yeah, if you like rockabilly and kind of, probably closer to psychobilly.
It's psychobilly. I like that too. Yeah,
check them out.
Anytime you can fuse genres and make it work, I think it's a special deal.
They're a ton of fun.
Spooky bluegrass, spooky grass,
spooky grass,
that's fun. But yeah, if you guys are excited for Halloween, I'm pumped for Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, so I'm looking forward to going out and enjoying.
I'm down in the dumps because I didn't get all the decorations up, but
Nah.
I don't like go out and do anything on Halloween. I stay home and pass out candy. It's my favorite thing. I love scaring the kids. So I've still got to change out the light bulb, over the front
Mm-hmm.
door, change it out to orange or red or green, and
Go get
make
them.
sure my CD player still ready to go, and
Mm-hmm.
get some tarps up and pull out I bought a scarecrow mask last year. I got to be honest, it's kind of unnecessarily bad looking. Like
Nah.
it's a little rude considering I do get some young. So when it's lighter at dusk, I do try to not wear the mask. I just try to answer the door. I try not to scare the crap out of kids. But I do have my bonfire axes, so a lot of
Mhm.
times I just come and dragging it on the ground to the yeah.
You
Yeah,
got to
and if
get them
anybody's
with it.
around, I'll walk out in front because I'll normally like wear overalls and like a thermal that I've doused in fake blood,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I'll hang out in the front and then just like slowly walk down the sidewalk path, dragging my axe behind me, so it's got that nice axe blade on pavement sound.
Oh yeah. The favorite just drag just.
Just the little things,
Oh yeah. It's the best part about it.
but
Let's have a little fun with it. But
yeah, all y'all be safe for Halloween. I know there's always a ton of parties and a ton of fun. If you're in a neighborhood, for the love of crap, please watch out for trick or treaters. Like always, just like you should always be looking out for kids in neighborhoods. Anyways, that's
oh yeah,
my little old man rant.
it's
Have a
all good.
blast going out. Be safe like always. I know that's kind of a party holiday is Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let Rob kind of take over and tell you where to find us.
Yep, be sure to catch us out there on X, on Twitter, on Instagram. We're on all of those pieces. It's Roy May 15 on X, Rob the Slapper on X. Be sure to go check out our new Instagram for RedAss podcast. It's on there. Be sure to go check it out. We're going to be making more posts every
Do
single
you have
week.
your band stuff linked to ours, or your new band has its own standalone, correct?
It has its own standalone. So if you have not followed along with Fat Cactus Band, it's on Instagram, but it's just fat.cactus.band on Instagram. So go give them a look. Not a lot.
The logo itself is worth a peek.
It is worth a peek if you didn't see it on the previous stream. So be sure to go check it out. But yeah, be sure to follow us on all those socials. We will be getting back at it next week again. As far as this weekend, band is going to be up in Lubbock. We are playing at the Garden. And if you don't know where the Garden is, it's literally right across from the Blue Light on Buddy Holly Avenue. It's outdoor venue. And the forecast, if it holds, looks awesome. So come hang out with us outside. If you're in Lubbock, if you're stuck in the Panhandle, we would love for y'all to come party with us. It will be a ton of fun and should be a pretty pleasant day.
You know what? I'm gonna drop a little plug right quick. So obviously, I'm with Bach Realty Group, and every year we do the Jingle Bell Market, and it's over at we do it at Pebble Creek every year. And this year the philanthropy that we've chosen is the bee market, the bee community. So they do they obviously do a ton throughout the community. But it's over, and you can check my socials, should be on mine. You can check it out on Facebook, anywhere at Bach Realty Group, we've got it there. But the idea is you come out, there's food, there's drinks, there's raffle items, a whole bunch of auction items. Obviously Gabe on the team, he gets a lot of stuff from athletics from around town.
Right.
So like signed memorabilia, stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of local vendors, and that's kind of the fun part. And it's and it's not like wait until we're not waiting until Christmas to do this. The idea is to do it early. This year it's November 12th, from noon to 4 at Pebble Creek. It's free admission, like you don't have to pay to get in. But we'll have it like mimosas and some food that you can buy, and then the silent auction and raffle, for the bee community, and then the ton of vendors. I got a couple of really cool Christmas gifts and some Christmas decoration items last year. I got a new thing to put over my garage. Has almost like a Dr. Seuss Christmas feel to it. I love it.
Nice.
And then I was able to get myself some gifts for myself, and I won one of the raffles, won myself a cool handmade knife. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you can do it, I'll plug it probably again for the next 2 weeks. But November 12th from noon to 4, it's free at Pebble Creek Country Club. And there's a ton of local vendors, and it's a great way to support the community and kind of get your Christmas shopping started early.
Amen to that. That would be awesome. So be sure to check that out. And once again, Roy's going to have all that on his socials. So be sure to go check him. And I will fill y'all in more on a local show in College Station on the 10th of November next week. So I will fill y'all in as we get a little closer to that date.
Can you believe next week is already the 10th of November?
I can't believe it. Like literally, it's Veterans Day almost. We're very close.
I get that we just talked about Halloween, but I mean, sometimes I forget that now that Halloween's going to be over, like it's time to start buying my turkey.
I'm about to say, here's the deal. Once literally you get to October and you're on rails, it's Halloween, then it's Veterans Day, then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas, then New Year's, and then all of a sudden, whew, all right, we're out of it. So
yeah, once you're done passing out candy, all of a sudden you're like, man, I need to start getting my taxes ready. Like it happens like that.
Straight up. That's the way it goes.
Seriously.
All right. You guys be good. Have a wonderful week. Beat the ever living hell out of Ole Miss. Thank y'all. Stay spooky. Have a great rest of your day. Gig 'em.